What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And I mean, it's been so long, it feels really good to be back, honestly. For those of you who hadn't seen my community posts or anything, my wife and I recently just took a trip out to Australia, got to see family and friends again. It was so cool. And during that time period, obviously, we didn't get any videos done, but like, honestly, I don't think I missed a whole lot, but that's what this video is for. We're going to go through basically all of the new units that they revealed while I was away, and kind of give you my thoughts and opinions on them. I've had a brief look over what some of these units do. I did play the treasure map and I was able to get to 10 million points. I didn't do any pulls while I was away. So you can see I have 1500 gems. I ended up buying like all those rookie packs that reset after the anniversary period. So I bought all of those and I essentially haven't spent any gems during that time period. So I'm going to give you guys kind of like my raw reaction to seeing how some of these units are. There are actually quite a lot of units to get through, so this might be a bit of a longer form video, but I think it's going to be a nice video to ease back into the content, actually review what's going on here. And I do believe, what is it today, the 20th? The Kizuna Clash actually starts on the 22nd. That's good, so I don't have to do anything tonight, thankfully. That's going to be a little bit too much in one night. But let's go ahead and get through this. So the first thing that happened is we got this carrot. So this is the new Rumble unit carrot. I believe this was announced like pretty much, yeah, July 4th is when I left the United States to go to Australia. So I didn't get a chance to make a video on this Rumble rare recruit carrot, but honestly, I don't think we really missed anything here. Let's see this special. Allows characters normal attacks to ignore enemies' defensive effects for one turn. That's kind of interesting and unique. Applies paralysis. If 2 or more Mink characters are on the crew, reduces the crew's special charge time by 2 turns and gives you a paralysis conditional boost. I mean, interesting, I suppose. Again, really, like, hampering down on the whole character tag functionality. But, of course, she's a Rumble unit, so let's see what she actually does. So she gives quick and fighter characters an attack and HP buff, shooter enemies attack down, special CT speed down as well, and if there's 5 or more shooter enemies, special CT speed increase. Okay, so anti-shooter is kind of a good thing because the shooter team, as it stands right now, is actually a very good Rumble team. So I don't hate the anti-shooter stuff, I suppose. Let's have a look and see what this special does. 25 CT, she is considered a debuffer style, okay. Large range attack down, speed down, miss percent up. Quick fighters or quick and fighter characters on your team will evade action bind for 100% chance for 20 seconds, and then shooter enemies 100% chance of action binding those characters. I haven't had a look at the shooter team and seeing which characters on the shooter team are actually able to resist this effect, but if a lot of the shooters can actually get around, they can't get around the action bind, this carrot is actually very good. But I think it's a little too niche because you're running her on a quick team or a fighter team, and I don't think, well, quick, they're a pretty decent team, I suppose, but fighters aren't like a super crazy team in Rumble at the current point in time, so I don't really think this carrot is that great. A pretty skippable banner, all things considered. What are the Rumble legends that are actually on this banner, though? Where are they? Where are the Sugafest exclusives? You got Weevil and Smoothie. Both of those characters that being there is good. Smoothie was available during the anniversary period, during those free character selections every single day. And also, I think Fuji and Greenball will also were, but they're kind of mid. But Smoothie's a pretty good character, but Weevil also being pullable is good. You got Garp, which is a very good Rumble character. So it's actually not a terrible banner, all things considered. But we do have One Piece Day coming up. I guess I probably should have, led with that. Is that One Piece Day is going to be coming up very shortly. Likely it's going to be, I think it's like the first week of August or something. Okay, but let's go ahead and continue on and see what else we have to have a look at here. We have a new login bonus, which is just every single day you get a free summer character. Nothing really too crazy there. And then they announced this. This was actually a really weird Sugafest to announce, because I remember when they announced it, I was actually kind of shocked because, obviously with the current batch that is out focusing on, the summertime characters, it just didn't really make a lot of sense that they were going to focus on Portgas D Ace as like the headliner unit for the treasure map. It just didn't make sense with what the batch we already had. I mean, we kind of expected to be more summertime characters, but that is not what they did. So we have a new Ace, we have a Marco, and we have a Blackbeard, and all of these characters are focusing on Striker and Powerhouse, if memory serves me correctly. So we'll go through the legend in just a sec. We have Marco here, treasure map rare recruit character who does have super tandem boost. It is just weird seeing Marco and Blackbeard, sorry, being striker characters, and even Ace being a striker character is kind of a weird unit, weird choice. Let's have a look at what they do though. The special ability for Marco changes his own slot including block into tandem, allowing you to trigger super tandem effects. He reduces special bind duration by 6 turns and also reduces damage threshold by 6 turns, already very good. He also gives you a 1.3 chain boost, and if you have HP, if your HP is more than 20% when the special is launched, and 3 or more Whitebeard pirates are on the crew, reduces damage taken by 80% and boosts the chain multiplier by 1.5 times. So he can give you chain addition and multiplicative at the same time. And then damage reduction is also kind of cool. And if your HP is below the 20% threshold with 3 or more Whitebeard pirates, then you get the 1.75 times multiplicative. Okay, so if you're above the 20% threshold, you get the damage reduction. And then if you're at the low threshold, your chain multiplicative will be a slightly higher buff. Still, with all that being said, you do still need to have 3 or more Whitebeard pirates on the crew. He counts as one himself, so that does allow you to essentially mean you just need 2 other Whitebeard pirate characters. A lot of the Whitebeard pirates are also focused on Powerhouse as well, so I think this is kind of a nice thing as well, giving a little bit of buff to the Whitebeard pirate support, which is kind of cool. This character is decent, it's got good utility, and it does have decent damage potential, so I think that overall, Marco is decent. It says reduces Whitebeard pirate's special bind duration by 2 turns and reduces his own special bind duration by a further 8 turns. That is a ridiculous crewmate ability. Oh, god damn, dude, that's really good. That's a fantastic crewmate ability. So if they ever make Whitebeard pirates like a really good character tag in the future, yeah, this is going to be a great character to have. You know, we still have, you know, the Whitebeard and Ace dual unit that came out during New Year's, and that character is very strong. But one of the main issues is that they don't have a lot of good support units. So if they give us some more characters like this, that's going to help them out a lot. Really, really good effect there. And if you have a territory, powerhouse, or strength, you get a further base attack and recovery boost, which is kind of cool. And then the support is interesting too, attaching to any Whitebeard pirate, and it says that if you hit it perfect, it removes 1 turn of damage threshold, which is great. It does give you a recovery boost, but that's redundant. The threshold removal is the most important. This character does have barrier pierce as well. Like a striker powerhouse unit to just randomly have barrier pierce is really cool. And then the super tandem boost triggers when a Whitebeard pirate's character has a super tandem, and it gives Whitebeard pirate characters a level 3, and then mythical Zolan also get a level 2. Overall, seems pretty good to me. Like the Marco is just an overall solid treasure map rare recruit that we'll see play in the future, so long as we get more Whitebeard pirate support. Now, moving on, we do have the Marshal D Teach Blackbeard, again, striker powerhouse. And then his special ability reduces Powerhouse and Striker cooldown by 2 turns, reduces 6 turns of attack down, and gives a 1250 base attack boost to those 2 classes, and then changes all slots including block into recovery. And then if you launch the special at below the 20% threshold with the 3 or more Whitebeard pirates, it applies a weakened status to all enemies for 1 turn. Interesting. The weakened status doesn't go through full immunity, and you don't get any other additional effect if you launch the special when you're above the 20% threshold, kind of like what Marco has, where Marco says if you launch it above 20% or below 20%, you get like different effects. This is you only get an additional effect if you're below the threshold, which it does make sense if you read what Ace does. I know Ace does a health cut. I don't remember exactly what else he does, but I know that Ace does do a health cut, which does enable this effect to activate and the Marco effect to get the better chain boost and stuff. But overall, Blackbeard doesn't seem as crazy. I mean, the special reverse is actually quite good. That's probably going to be one of the key reasons you'd ever use him, is the special reverse and the attack down. The slot change, base attack boost, and then maybe get a weakness buff is kind of like fine. Let's have a look and see what his crewmate ability is. Okay, so he just reduces all Whitebeard pirate characters reversed by 2 turns. That's a phenomenal crewmate ability. Really, really good. And then if you have territory, you get the further HP buff. Okay. The support attaches to any Whitebeard pirate, and it says if you're inflicted with attack down, reduce it by 2 turns, and then changes the supporter character slot into recovery. It's a pretty good support. Definitely one you want to have in the future for sure. And then the super tandem boost, or the super tandem effect, should I say, it's not the greatest. You do need 3 of the following characters, but you know, it's essentially the same list of characters that are required to trigger like the Whitebeard and Ace dual unit effects. This doesn't include Odin, but it does include like those main characters. And it says that it applies a tandem attack boost of 1.75 to strength, striker, and powerhouse. Again, this is kind of like just a meh ability. It's just here to help Marco trigger his super tandem boost with Ace. It's just a batch that's supposed to work well together, right? Nothing really too crazy there. I definitely prefer the Marco. I like his utility a lot better than what what Blackbeard does. But the Blackbeard reverse stuff is definitely going to be really cool to have. Now, let's talk about Ace. So Ace, brand new Sugafest exclusive. He is a treasure map exclusive legend. And this guy here is a powerhouse striker. He is a strength unit, of course. Let's have a look. Now, I haven't read his abilities to the fullest extent. I did use him as a friend captain in the treasure map, but I didn't really know exactly what he was doing. I just knew that he was going to be useful. Anyways, let's have a look and see what he does. So strength, powerhouse, and striker get 5.25 times attack, 1.25 times HP, strength recovery tandem matching. Again, nothing too crazy so far. Boost chances of landing strength. If you're inflicted with a burn status from a special launched by the crew or by an enemy action, and I skipped a bunch, then it will boost strength, powerhouse, and striker characters' attack by 2.75 times for 4 turns. Right, so if you're inflicted with burn via any ability by your effect or the opponent's, you get a 4-turn attack buff to strength, striker, powerhouse. Interesting. We've seen effects like this before. You know, like the Sai Momo does it. One of the Blackbeard legends also does something very similar to this as well. Okay. And that's regardless of the effect. So even if it's like you know, a 3-turn burn, you still get a 4-turn attack boost. Like it just changes it, which is cool. And then it says, regardless of the effect, further increase the effect up to 2 times if the crew is afflicted with a burn by an enemy action, depending on the enemy action. It was a preemptive action or the end of turn. Okay, it's basically saying that even though it says it's a 4-turn effect, if it activates during a preemptive attack, you still get 1 turn taken away because it is an enemy preemptive attack. So essentially, if the preemptive burns you, it becomes a 3-turn attack buff, is essentially what it's saying. And this attack buff from Ace, that 2.75 times, can be buffed twice, which is also something to take note of as well. Very, very cool. It then says it will apply an effect based on the number of character tags on the crew. So if you have 3 or more Whitebeard pirates on the crew, it reduces paralysis and despair duration by 2 turns, and then boost damage dealt to ignited enemies by 1.2 times. Okay, it's interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of locking these utility effects behind really annoying tag requirements, especially when the utility that you get after following the tag requirements isn't that great. Like 2-turn paralysis and despair removal, it's better than nothing for sure, but if you're going through the effort of having to have these tags on your crew, these really should be a lot higher than 2 turns. This should be at least 10 turns, right? We've seen plenty of characters in the past that have no tag requirements and just remove 2 different debuffs by 10 turns. Characters like that exist. So the fact that it's locked behind having to have these tags, already not the biggest fan of what this Ace does, at least as a captain. Let's have a look at the superclass ability. So you need to have 3 of the following characters on the crew, which is pretty rough. And you can use it as a crewmate, which is a good note. And the effect does damage to all enemies, ignoring all defensive effects and defense. So that's pretty cool, using it to like for treasure map grinding and like to wave clear. And then also applies a 10% strength resistance down. Boost orb effects by 1.75 times. It can be overwritten, and then powerhouse becomes super powerhouse. It's fine. As I said, it's really good for treasure map wave clearing. If you have this guy, he's going to be boosted in all other TMs moving forward. So having access to a character like this that you can use to just wave clear, and if you have those Whitebeard pirates on your team to have the utility, this could be a very good TM character moving forward, I think. Alright, let's have a look at this special. So this special already applies an ignited status to all enemies. It says applies ignited status to all enemies for 2 turns, ignoring immunity. Yeah, makes sense. And then cuts the crew's HP by 99%, but deals 30 times the HP lost in non-tap damage to all enemies. So it's a pretty big drawback there. You lose a lot of HP, but there are benefits to doing it in a lot of scenarios. And then it also reduces your crew's burn and bind duration by 4 turns. If you have an attack buff when you launch the special, it will further buff it by 0.3. Remember, with Ace's captain ability, if you're inflicted with a burn by yourself or an enemy effect, you get a 3-turn attack buff, 2.75 times. Launching Ace's special will make that go up to 3.05 times, so that makes sense. And then the attack buff that Ace provides via his captain ability can be buffed twice. So if you have like double Ace, you could potentially get some cool things going there. And then boost the crew's attack based on the damage reduction effect applied on the crew. So I think, was it the Marco that gave you a damage reduction effect? So this gives you damage reduction based attack boost, works very, very well with that Marco. If you're not using that, then you have to use, like, you could potentially use like a Mr. 3 support if you're on like a 3-stage piece of content. That could work really well just to give you free damage, right? So yeah, damage reduction based attack boost. And then it also says it will give you a 3-turn 2.75 times attack boost to strength, powerhouse, and striker instead. So that's interesting, meaning that if you don't have the burn which gives Ace the effect to give you an attack boost, you can still get the attack boost via his special ability anyways, but it's like if you have the benefit of already having that attack buff, then you can get other benefits then. It then says, if his special was already used this turn, it will apply a strength territory to the field for 2 turns. And then, if 3 or more Whitebeard Pirates, Mythical Zoan, or Roger Pirate characters are on the crew, reduces his special charge time by, was it 13 turns? Holy cow. That's pretty cool, actually. So, you can do some really interesting stuff with that, allowing him to potentially get double special launch, though you need to limit break expand him to make him go to 15. If he gets 13 turns of cooldown, you know, it does require you an additional 2 turns of cooldown to get him ready to go. But at the end of the day, you know, you could potentially launch him like on a stage 4, move on to the next stage, and he's good to go on a stage 5. Like, you can get him to go over multiple different stages. Like, that potentially could be kind of cool. But, like, the way that I see it is like, Ace is an okay legend. He's not going to be the end-all, be-all that's going to be the reason why your team is doing trillions and trillions of damage. He's just an okay legend that has a random batch of units that come out with that helps him get the job done. Like, I don't think it's a crazy legend release by any stretch of the imagination. He does have the Enraged effect. He does have Slotbind removal. He does have a final tap. It does require 3 of the following units on the crew in order to activate it, but you got a pretty good list of characters there. And it adds 1.0 times the damage dealt of normal attacks of other striker characters. Wow. Okay, it's a very good final tap. Very, very good effect. I mean, Striker's receiving a lot of support. I mean, yeah, obviously this will have some kind of synergistic effects with the Rocks Pirates characters, with Lin, Shiki, and Whitebeard. That character just seems to get better and better every single month. You know, we obviously had the release of the summer waifus with Yamato and Nami. Striker support again. This character, Striker support again. So Striker's receiving a lot of stuff. This is a really interesting character. That final tap may be the reason that he sees play in like a super boss scenario, potentially. We'll have to wait and see, right? What are his crewmate abilities? Does he have anything crazy? Some attack buffs. And then when a strength powerhouse or striker character uses a special, reduces his charge time by 2 turns. That is phenomenal. Okay, so obviously that makes a lot of sense with the way that he's kind of built, because if you have him as a crewmate, that allows using his special twice in the same turn to happen extremely, extremely easy. So yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense actually. So good that we looked at that. Let's have a look at his support. Does he have anything good? Marco, Whitebeard, Jinbei, Teach. And it says that it cuts your health by 80% and reduces 3 turns of burn at the start of the final stage. It's a very good support. I mean, the burn removal is nice, but the highlight there is definitely the health cut, being able to get around the stun debuff. Just another nice effect to have. And then let's have a look at his Rumble. So in Rumble, he is considered an attacker style unit, and he gives buffs to Strength and Striker, giving them a 6 attack buff, 6 HP, and if 3 or more Whitebeard Pirates are on the crew, he gets a shield and special CT speed up for himself. I don't think you're going to be getting 3 Whitebeard Pirate characters on the crew that often. He obviously counts. Rocks Pirates would count as a Whitebeard Pirate character. And then you need 1 more in order to trigger this. So I guess there could be something going here. That actually could be kind of good. Let's see what his special does. So the special does a large range horizontal 3.5. Targets, not include himself, 1 strength striker teammate with low special CT for a 50% reduction. And if 3 or more Whitebeard Pirate characters are on the crew, target all enemies for level 3 damage over time and 4,000 damage. Is this good? It's okay. Of course, the straight synergy obviously is the Rocks Pirates. You are going to be using Rocks Pirates with this character, obviously. You're not going to be using this on a strength team per se, because strength is already pretty hard to get into, and this is not a special that's going to like take over other characters that you would normally use on a strength team. I don't think you would use him in that scenario, but obviously for striker scenario, this is a nice little buff for them, especially if you have Lin, Shiki, Whitebeard. This character is going to be perfect for a character such as that. Okay, so there we go. That's the brand new Ace. I mean, I know a lot of people are Ace fans out there, so if you are, cool. There's a new Ace Legend for you to go ahead and pick up. I don't think he's that great. I'm not going to be doing pulls for him. I'll just wait until he's boosted next on a random treasure map Sugarfest to potentially go for him. It is what it is. I think he's an okay Legend, all things considered. He's pretty cool. But interesting stuff. So let's go back to the homepage and have a look and see what else we missed while we were away. So we had the treasure map here. We had the announcement of the next 6+ character, essentially, which was going to be the Mihawk and Perona. And we actually have this information right here. We'll talk about the next new batch very, very shortly. But we have the brand new Super Evolution of Mihawk and Perona. So Mihawk and Perona, this is a really cool one, because Mihawk and Perona were a character that You know, a really, really old unit that hadn't received a super evolution yet. So the fact that they got one, I think a lot of people were very, very excited for the fact that this was selected as this month's super evolution. However, I have had a brief read of what this character does, and it just doesn't seem that exciting. It just seems like this character is designed purely for the batch that came out with this Kizuna. Talking about the Croc and Robin, the Doflamingo, all that kind of good stuff. This character feels like it's just kind of designed for that, and that's kind of it. Let's get into it, though. So we have the Super Evolution here of Mihawk and Perona. Of course, we have the base level 99 version, but of course, if you do have the investments, the character will become stronger. So let's have a look at max capacity. What are you going to fully expect with this character, okay? So we have the dual unit, you know, you start off as Mihawk or Perona. So Mihawk says he launches this effect at the start of the quest. So this is new. He didn't do this before. Boosts strength and side characters attack by 2.75 for 5 turns. Didn't do that previously, so just at the start of the quest, you get a 5-turn attack buff. He reduces his own switch gauge by 3, and then strength and side characters 4.5 attack, 1.3 times HP, boost their attack by 5 times when they have a type slot, and then makes side character strength slots matching, and then reduces the chances of landing recovery in tandem. So the whole focus of this, you want type slots only. Recovery and tandem slots give you no major bonus damage, and if you have just a type slot, whether it be strength, dex, quick sight, int, you get a 5 times attack boost with his effect, and then you get the 5-turn 2.75 times attack boost when you start the quest as Mihawk as your captain. So you can pivot over to Perona, who is slightly different, where instead of getting 5-turn attack boost, you get 5-turn orb boost instead. You still get the special charge resistance for their switch gauge, and then it's just a flat 4.75 times boost. Strength character size slots are matching, reduce the chances of recovery and tandem slots appearing, and then of course you have their dual captain, which just straight up says you get a 5.5 times attack when you have type slots only on your team. Makes their type slots have matching slot effects. So essentially, if you have just strength, dex, quick sight, int, they're all going to be matching in their dual form, and then reduce the chances of recovery and tandem. So there's no real utility here. You get the attack boost or the orb boost at the start of the quest. They get the reduction to their super switch gauge, which I guess could be kind of a good thing. But there's not a lot going on here, right? There's really not a lot going on in terms of the captain ability. So let's move on to, let's have a look at their switch first. So they have a switch gauge of 7, meaning that if you start them off as a captain, they're going to go and start off at a 4-turn gauge instead. So you have the base switch gauge, which changes their own slot into matching, heals the crew by 1500, completely removes this character's special bind, gives all enemies negative status, which is an effect that was introduced with Mihawk and Perona. So essentially, if an enemy is inflicted with negative status, they get a 20% reduction to their attack value and their defense value. That's pretty much all it does. But it does put a debuff on the enemy, which you can abuse in some ways. And it also says if 2 or more enemies are present, the negative infliction goes through immunity. So if there's only a solo enemy, you're kind of stuffed if they've got an immunity buff. But if there's at least 2 enemies on the field, it's guaranteed to go through immunity and hit all of them, which is pretty cool. You have a look at their super switch, which the only real difference is that the heal going from 1500 to 20,000 is a pretty significant difference. And then, very interestingly, when you have a look at this switch, reduces middle left character special charge time by 3 turns. Very specific, middle left, 3 turns of special charge time. Extend the duration of your attack and orb boost by 1 turn. Gives all enemies negative status. That goes through immunity. So you don't have to have a certain requirement on what enemies are on the field when you use this super switch. But yeah, there you go. So the big thing there is the special bind removal. We saw Sabo and Koala do it with their super evolution that came out last month. And then lo and behold, when we have a look at their special ability, yeah, they're going to go ahead and remove some special bind. You know, surprise, surprise. So their special ability does a 20% health cut. It reduces 6 turns of special bind, which they removed via their switch ability. It changes block slots into matching, becomes Mihawk and Perona for 3 turns. And then we have some tag stuff. So it says if 3 or more Thriller Bark, Marine Ford, or 7 Warlords of the Sea are on the crew, reduces all enemies' damage reduction from certain slots by 6 turns. This is a very unique ability. Not many characters in the game have the ability to remove this. So having a character that is essentially free to play that can remove this debuff or this buff on enemy side of the field is a good thing, but you need to have 3 Thriller Bark, Marine Ford, or 7 Warlord characters, which could be a problem. And then boost damage dealt to enemies with a negative status, and damage increased enemies by 3.25 times for 1 turn. So you get the conditional boost. It has 2 different effects. It can either be an increased damage taken conditional boost or a negative conditional boost. And then it does say that it will still give you a 3 times conditional boost anyway, but it's just saying that if you have the effect, of having the 3 tags on your crew, then it's a 3.25 condition instead of a 3 times conditional boost. But that's all the special does. There's really not a lot going on here. Like, they didn't really change all that much. From the base form of the special, they were like, he had special bind now. The conditional boost is obviously a high number. And I believe they still changed block slots. But yeah, they really didn't do a lot with this super evolution, which is kind of surprising. I was hoping to see more, but essentially the only reason I would actively use this character is if they're boosted in content. They're like a point booster unit, and I need to remove special bind. That's probably the only reason I'm going to be using this character. So, yeah, they're probably going to be good for the next month or so. But after that, are you really going to be using this character? Probably not. Probably not. So it's a little underwhelming, all things considered. Let's have a look at their Rumble. So, their sprite looks pretty cool, all things considered. But their Rumble ability gives Cerebral and Driven characters an attack and a defense increase, and then gives your entire team a speed and HP increase. It's a pretty decent Rumble ability, all things considered. Nothing to scoff at. And then the special ability, 33 CT, which is a touch high. It gives all enemies in a large range frontal. It's only frontal, which is not great. Attack down level 7, defense down level 7. But they also give a 40% HP reduction, which is pretty significant. And then targets 3 free spirit or cerebral enemies for a 100% chance of action bind. Again, could be quite good, but again, if an enemy has resistance against it, like, what are you doing, right? A 33 CT that can potentially just do nothing if an enemy is just resistant to that specific debuff. Not really the biggest fan of that one. So I think that for a 33 CT, if this was like 26, 27, this would be pretty good to use. But 33, I think, is on that, like, on that cusp of being just a bit too high for what this character does. So I don't see this character ever really being used in a PvP sense, unless if you literally have nothing else to use. So yeah, Mihawk Perona, I do feel like are a pretty underwhelming 6+, which I guess we can't really be surprised about because Bandai love making mediocre 6+s. They're very, very good at it. So that brings us to our final little banner to talk about, like, the new units that came out while I was away, which is this brand new Pirate Alliance Kizuna Sugarfest that is out right now, which introduces a brand new dual unit in Mr. Zero and Miss All Sunday, Croc and Robin Dual Legend. So I know that a lot of Croc and Robin fans are going to be pretty excited to see this one. We'll talk about the Legend very shortly. They also introduced a new Kizuna Rare Recruit and a Support Rare Recruit. So let's start off with the Support unit here, which is, interestingly enough, an Alvida and a Kobe. Very, very weird. I saw this artwork and I thought it was kind of like a joke, but it's actually like a real unit. So again, it's a support unit, so everything that you see here is kind of like whatever, but actually this is kind of an interesting special. Let's see. All slots to decks, locks crew slots for 1 turn. If you have a Striker or Driven class captain, reduces burn duration by 6. If an enemy has Poison Venom or Progressive Poison, set their defense to 0. That's not a bad special for a support rare recruit, actually. That's actually not bad. Again, it's a support rare recruit, so let's see what it does. Attaches to any striker. Look at the length of this special. Oh my god, this is a lot. So attaches to any striker, and it says, once per quest, if the supporter character uses a special to reduce any of the crew's poison effects, or to apply a poison to the enemy, it's going to apply an 80% damage reduction to enemies for 6 turns. Okay, so it gives the enemies 6 turns of Rainbow Shield. Okay. Applies minus 8% striker resistance to all enemies for 1 turn. Allows healing up to... Oh, okay. This is very good for the Rocks Pirates. This is phenomenal for Rocks, because obviously Rocks have the ability to... have the effect where you can make Rainbow Shield count as 0. And then it also gives you overhealing, right? Where it says, after the resistance, applies 8% striker resistance, allows healing up to 2 times max HP limit for 1 turn. So that allows the EX Super of Rocks Pirates to trigger immediately. Okay, that seems very, very good. And then also heals the crew by 3000 HP. But it only can be used on a striker character that removes poison or inflicts a poison. So that's not a very, like, big pool of characters, but there are a couple of units that come to mind straight away that could do it. I mean, the one that comes to mind for some reason is Don Krieg. I don't know why, but I keep thinking Don Krieg because there are Don Krieg characters that are strikers that inflict poison. Okay, it's an interesting support. It's interesting. It's again like a support that's going to enable the Rocks pirates to get their effects to activate without having to worry about too much, because obviously with Rocks, in order to use their EX super, you need either like those 2 or 3 listed characters on the crew, which is really annoying to do, or you have overhealing, and overhealing buff just automatically triggers the EX super. So that's just the way that I see this character being used, is to help Rocks pirates provide like their abilities. Next, we have a Kizuna Rare Recruit Doflamingo, which is a 7 Warlords of the Sea character to kind of help with Croc, Robin, and Mihawk Perona. So let's go ahead and have a look and see what this character is doing here. So he gives actually major buffs to the 7 Warlords of the Sea, giving them a further 1.2 attack. If 3 or more 7 Warlords of the Sea, reduces middle row and bottom row special bind duration by 6 turns. Okay then. Okay. Very cool. I think this character is this character like a boot? No, I was gonna say, does he have a boosted captain ability in the Kizuna? I don't think he does. No, he doesn't. Okay, so yeah, this Doflamingo, interesting captain ability. Well, with what I know about Croc and Robin are a captain shift unit. So having this character as a captain to then avoid some debuffs and then switch them out of the captain position is probably what they want you to actually do in this event. Anyways, let's go ahead and have a look and see what this character does. So, the special ability here will remove 6 turns of Threshold, boosting Cerebral and Driven slot effects by 2.5 for 1 turn, and then boost damage dealt to weakened enemies by 2.25 times for 1 turn. If this character was a captain at the start of the quest and is a crewmate when the special is launched, further increases your slot effect boost and damage dealt, so a conditional boost, by 0.4 times, meaning that the orb boost that he gives you is 2.9 and the conditional boost is 2.65. Pretty decent for a generic rare recruit, honestly. I say he's a generic rare recruit, he is a Kizuna rare recruit, all things considered. It allows you to perform super tandem with strength and dex slots for 1 turn. If 2 or more Warlords are on the team, allows crew's attack boost to be further increased up to 2 times, and reduces your crew's attack down duration by 6 turns. I mean, this guy's pretty good. He's a pretty good character. Obviously, you are trying to build around 7 Warlords of the Sea to actually make him good. But this is like kind of like one of the annoying things that we're seeing with... Like, I love the character tag functionality. I think it's really, really good. But when you have, like... every new event is like a new tag that they're focusing on, is like, it's just whiplash, because we had like the waifu characters, and then we have the ace character focusing on Whitebeard pirates, and then we have 7 Warlords of the Sea. Like, they're just trying to do too many things in one month. Like, I feel like everything in this month should have been focused on the waifus or Whitebeard pirates or 7 Warlords of the Sea. Trying to do 3 different tag buffs in 1 month is way too difficult, because what, like, honestly, the best way to do this kind of thing, right, is focus 1 month on one thing, right? So start off with the waifus and then give a bunch of tags to old waifu characters that haven't got tags yet, and give them level limit break buffs. Give them buffs that make them actively usable to work with the new batch and work with everything that comes out during the month. And the fact that they're not doing that is really, really detrimental. It really does hurt, because it makes team building in these events way more difficult. Whereas if they're just like, oh, just pull for these like 3 new units that come out, you build the team with these units, and you don't have to worry about anything else. It is just the most brain dead, stupid thing ever, and Bandai continues to do it. They just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, Doflamingo at face value is a pretty good character, but how often are you going to use him outside of this event? Probably not too much, really. You're really not. Let's have a look at crewmate abilities. Tapping in with a strength dex slot gives you a driven resistance down. Okay. And then he does have the super tandem ability. You need 2 units to trigger it, which is any of the Dofi pirates, but also Mihawk, Kuma, Moria, Hancock, Jinbei. Pretty cool. And also Crocodile, of course. And it's just a tandem boost of 1.75 to Driven Cerebral. Again, just allowing you to use like super tandem boost potentially in the future. We'll see. So the Dofi just seems alright. No real useful support, unfortunately. But again, like the Dofi is basically here to facilitate Croc and Robin, as well as the Mihawk and Perona 6+. So I guess with all that, we've finally made our way to the final character that we're going to be talking about in this video, which is going to be the Croc and Robin. Alright, let's talk about the Mr. Zero and Missile Sunday, who is a Cerebral Striker unit. Let's start things off with Crocodile's captain ability here. There's a lot to go through here. I actually haven't read this character to the fullest extent, so I really don't know exactly what to expect here. So let's see here. We have Crocodile, who is going to give -1 cooldown to Cerebral Striker, boost the health by 1.2, 5.25 times attack, strength slots are matching, reduces bind duration by 3 turns. Okay. and reduces the duration of pain received from the enemy by 3 turns, and then reduces damage taken by 20%. Applies an effect based on the tags. Baroque Works 7 Warlords of the Sea will receive a 1.2 damage bonus. So they go 5.25. Let me pull up the calculator real quick. 5.25 times 1.2 times 1.2, 6.3, and that's just with Crocodile's captain. That's not even including the dual captain. That's very high. And then it says, if you have 4 or more Baroque Works, Paramecia, Logia, 7 Warlords, World Government characters are on the crew, and the crew uses a special to boost orbs or color affinity. You extend the duration by 1 and add 0.25 to that buff, and it stacks with other buffing effects. So that's pretty cool. So basically, if you use a 2 times color affinity, it'll passively go to 2.25 instead of, and it won't be like an affinity buff with a plus. It'll just be like, you know, just a normal affinity buff. So it's just a free 0.25 increase to any color affinity or orb boost, so long as you have 4 or more characters of those tags on the team. And extending it by 1 turn could also be kind of cool too. It's an alright captain ability. The weird thing though, 3 turn removal of bind, and pain. 3 turns is a really weird number. Don't know why they decided to do that. I wonder if Robin is any different. So Robin looks to be the same. Bind duration by 3, pain duration by 3, 20% damage reduction, and yeah, it's the same thing. It's almost an identical captain effect. It's just slightly different, but not by much. And then in their combined captain ability, 5.5 times attack, bind duration by 3, pain duration by 3, 20% damage reduction, and then this block in the middle where it says, if Mihawk, Dofi, Kuma, Moria, Hancock, Jinbei, Mr. 1, Mr. 2, Mr. 3 is a crewmate and uses a special, increases all enemies' damage taken by 1.75 for 1 turn, ignoring immunity to status effects, and can be activated up to twice during the quest. So wow. So if you have one of those random characters in your team, whether it be a warlord or the higher ranking officers of Baroque Works, you can get free 1.75 times damage, increased damage taken against them. That's pretty cool. And then if you do use Mihawk and Perona 6+ on the team, then their conditional boost gives you a conditional boost against enemies that are negative or increased damage taken. So that allows you to get that for free. So even if there's only 1 enemy on the field, you can get the guaranteed conditional boost against them with this character as your captain. Okay. Now, it says there's more tag stuff, so you get the further 1.2. So they're 5.5 multiplied by the 1.2. So they are going to be 6.6 times damage increasing captains. If 4 or more of those tags are on the crew, color affinity, or boost, buff it, stack it, yeah, all that good stuff. So the major difference there is that in their dual form, you can get increased damage taken for free if one of those characters are a crewmate and uses a special. Interesting captain ability. Like, I'm not like that, like, sold on this unit, to be honest. Like, I'm not the biggest Croc and Robin fan, to be honest. But I know that a lot of people are, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited for this one. Interesting stuff. Very, very interesting, I will admit. We'll talk about the super type in just a moment. I think we're going to start off with their special. So their special poisons all enemies. They are a striker unit, so this would actually work with the Alvida and Kobe character attached to this unit. So it poisons all enemies and then reduces all enemies' defense up duration by 10 turns. That's very good. If the crew has a chain lock effect when you launch the special, it boosts color affinity of your cerebral striker characters by 2.75 for 2 turns. That can be buffed twice. And then sets the chain multiplier minimum value at 3.25 for 2 turns. So basically, if you have a chain boundary, you get a color affinity boost. And then if you don't have a chain boundary, you still get a chain boundary from him anyway. So it's pretty cool. And then it says if you have 4 or more of these tags on the crew, applies a weakened status to all enemies, ignoring immunity to status effects. That's very good. And then becomes Mr. Zero and Missile Sunday for 3 turns. Yeah, it's a pretty decent effect, all things considered. So, yeah, you get poison, defense up removal. If you have a chain boundary or a chain lock, you get affinity. If you don't, you still just get a chain boundary anyways. And then if you have the tags fulfilled, you get weakness that goes through immunity. Seems pretty good, especially with the fact that their captain ability has the potential to get increased damage taken that goes through immunity, giving weakness that also goes through immunity. Having those on one character is pretty strong. So I'm liking where this is going. Like the fact that you get weakness and increased damage taken, even though the increased damage taken that this character provides is only 1.75, where there's a lot of other characters you could provide to get higher damage in regards to that. It's still good to note though, because having all of these in one kit is very powerful, opening up further slots on your team. Now, this character does have Captain Shift. So the base switch effect gives you the resistance down, and then also changes their own slot into matching and completely removes their own paralysis. It's a pretty much a whatever effect, but 15% cerebral and striker resistance is kind of nice, I guess. And then if you use their Captain Shift, again, they have to be in the middle left. Remember what we talked about before with Mihawk and Perona? They gave cooldown reduction to the middle left. So this is all hampering down on this. So it says that if this character is Mr. Zero and is the captain, and then you switch to Miss All Sunday, you can switch to the middle left position. Or if Miss All Sunday is in your middle left position and you switch into Crocodile, it will put him to the captain position. If you do perform the switch, it will go ahead and reduce this character's special charge time by 3 turns and applies a 20% dex and strength resistance to all enemies. So being able to get strength and dex resistance and cerebral and striker resistance all in one character, weakness and increased damage taken in one character. You've got potentially like chain boundary and potentially color affinity going on here. Like there's a lot of damage boosting buffs happening here between Croc and Robin. And then it all comes down to the fact that they have a super tandem boost when any Baroque, Paramecia, Logia, or 7 Warlords performs a super tandem. Then Baroques and 7 Warlords get level 5 boost. Paramecia, Logia, World Government get level 4. It's pretty good, honestly. Pretty good super tandem boost right there. In terms of crewmate abilities, they're immune to blindness, which is kind of cool. And then make strength and dex slots matching to cerebral striker. You got some base stats there, but the matching slots are definitely nice too. So yeah, I think that Croc and Robin are a very, very interesting legend. I definitely like this character way more than the treasure map Ace that came out. Though like Ace is going to be really nice for future TMs for like speed farming and stuff. But I kind of like the design of this unit. It's a little complex because this character is definitely focusing on those tags a lot. But if you can build your team effectively, this could be incredibly strong to use. And then in Rumble, they're a debuffer style, which you absolutely hate to see. They give Striker and Cerebral characters an attack defense increase, and then Slasher and Free Spirit enemies attack down level 6, speed down level 6. And then it says Baroque, Paramecia, Logia, 7 Warlord, World Government teammates all get level 3 special CT increase. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of scary, actually. This could be very, very good. You know, this actually gives buffs to Saturn. It gives buffs to the Rocks Pirates. It gives buffs to the new Ace that came out for the Striker squads. Like, this is a really, really good character, I think, in terms of just a Rumble ability there. And then the 25 CT, which is very, very low, targets enemies in a medium range for attack down, speed down. Targets enemies in a large range for a 2 times damage, 80% chance of paralysis. And then targets Slasher and Free Spirit enemies for a 40% delay. A 40% delay on a 25 CT, that is disgusting. Baroque Works, Paramecia, Logia, 7 Warlord, and World Governments get level 5 defense. Dude, Slasher and Free Spirit are just so dead at this point. Like, this character being on such a low CT, you got this, you got Nami Karina, and you got the Striker Nami that came out during the anniversary period. There's just so many characters you can use now to just reverse special CT. And the fact that this character is on a 25 CT, this is disgusting. I just don't see in any world how this character is not used in Rumble. I think definitely this character is a top level threat in Rumble. Going up against Slasher and Free Spirit teams now just feels almost kind of free with a character of this power level. Having this and then potentially stacking like a Nami Karina or a Striker Nami on top of it. I mean, even like the Bonnie as well. Like, there's so many characters you can just stack to just make sure that the enemy's Slasher or Free Spirit characters just don't do anything. So I feel like at this point, Slasher and Free Spirit are kind of free matchups. So if you have this character on your team, that's kind of disgusting, honestly. I'm not looking forward to that. I definitely want to avoid these types of matchups because it's going to make matchups against this unit very, very tricky. We haven't had a look at the super type effect, so we should probably do that. So it says in order to use the effect, you need to have Captain Shift activated, and you have any of the following characters on the team. So you need Captain Shift and one of the following, which is not bad, but it means you can't activate the super type if this character is your friend captain, so keep that in mind. The effect itself, you can completely remove your captain swap. You reduce barriers by 2 turns, hello, and then further increased damage taken buff by 0.25, and then changes characters of the same type to super type. So you have Croc being strength, Robin being dex, you can get super dex or super strength. Okay. It's pretty good. Not bad. Croc and Robin definitely seem very powerful, but they also seem very annoying to use at the same time as well. This is going to be a super boss Kizuna as well, so yeah, we'll have to see how we go with that. I definitely want to give you guys a like a prep video for the Kizuna Clash, so we'll see. Hopefully we can get that done over the next couple days. But that is going to wrap it up for me. So yeah, first video back, going through all of these new units. A lot of them seem kind of like mid or disappointing or like whatever, but that Croc and Robin was a very interesting character to end on, has some very, very unique abilities. So hopefully you enjoyed the video though. We're back making videos for Treasure Cruise, so hopefully you enjoyed the video today. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I'm that, guys. I'll see you guys within the next video.